The webinar is now live. So welcome, Pam. I think we're
Nice
live.
to see you.
Nice to see you. I'm going to try doing Facebook one more time.
Okay.
Oh, not letting me. Oh, we will post this later on Facebook if anyone's interested. In the meantime, I'd like to welcome you back to our, our second Cyberwise chat.
That's right.
For those of you who don't know, I'm Diana Graber. I'm the founder of Cyberwise and Cyber Civics and author of Raising Humans in a Digital World. I'm here again with Dr. Pamela Rutledge, who's the director of Media Psychology Research Center and faculty at Fielding Graduate School, which is where we met. She was one of my professors
That's right.
while I was pursuing an MA in Media Psychology and Social Change. And she is the smartest person I know when it comes to technology and human behavior. So,
well,
so we thought with the holidays quickly approaching, we tackle a question that I think we both get asked probably daily. When should I give my child a cell phone, right? Right, Pam?
Exactly.
And that's a really appropriate question right now with the holidays coming. I just did a little research and found that somebody actually took a survey on this topic last year and found out that the smartphone is the most popular gift choice, with over 40% of parents admitting to getting their teens a phone during the holiday season. Unsurprisingly, gaming consoles were the second popular gift at 30%, and computers, including tablets and laptops, were fourth place, with 17% of parents saying that that's what they were getting their kids this Christmas.
Don't do me like what was in third?
Funny you ask. Number 3 was cash, which is probably cash to buy cell phones and tablets.
That's right.
I guess so. Anyway, so we're going to tackle this topic today. And like last time, we have Arius Collins on standby. She's our social media manager. She will be manning the chat box in case you have any questions as we go through this. But in the meantime, we did get some questions ahead of time, which we are going to answer right now. Starting with the obvious, Pam, I'm going to let you tackle this obvious question. How do I know?
So it's the age.
Yeah. How do I know when my child is ready for a cell phone?
Well, the first say is don't be afraid of smart. It's a little going to grandma's house over the hills and through the woods or on the highway. There are a lot of different decisions that need to be made to make sure you get to where you're in safely. But my best advice is don't let your brain be full of all those scary things that you hear. Realize the outcome so that you know the right questions to ask. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. What are those questions?
Right. And what I always say is asking when is the wrong question. You should ask, is my child ready? And so we're going to go through these in more detail in the next half hour. But this is a question I wrote about in the very first chapter of my book. And I actually put a checklist on there in the book. It's also on our website too. I don't know if you can see it. It's a download. Is your child ready for a cell phone? And it actually gives you 7 questions to ask yourself if the child's ready, such as, can they manage their digital reputation? Can they maintain safe relationships? Do they know when to unplug? Can they protect their privacy? Can they think critically? Do they have great social skills? Are they equipped to be a digital leader? So we'll talk about all that in much more detail, but I'd like to move to the next question, Pam. And this comes from Bobby Rasmussen, who's got 4 kids. And she said, the thought of giving my child a cell phone freaks me out. How can I get more comfortable?
First thing is to realize new stuff always freaks us out. People have historically been freaked out by technology. Throughout history, the radio was supposed to destroy the mind of a teenager. We worried about television impairing cognitive development, and all these things have turned out also, first of all, not to be as bad as we thought, but the question isn't how much, it's what you're doing with them and how you're using them with others and with your life. So it's really a balance. And I know that, Diana, we talk about the importance and how do what you talk a little bit, and then I'll come back with some questions about how to get to know your kids.
Okay, so Pam, you were breaking up a little bit for me. I don't know if I'm breaking up for you. But anyway, I think I caught most of that anyway,
sorry.
But I think you're right. Like, freaking out doesn't get us anywhere. Like, the fear thing just stops us in our tracks. And the thing about, especially where we are right now, these kids kind of need phones for so many reasons. They need it to keep touch with their friends and have a social life, because that's with kids not being in school or being able to go to the corner store or whatever. That's how they maintain. And I'm talking, preteen teenagers. So that's really important. So knowledge is power. So I think the more that parents know what their kids should be aware of, that will help them feel more comfortable giving their child a phone. Don't you agree, Pam?
Yeah, absolutely. And think about, I mean, talk with your kids because they think about what you think of as a phone much differently. My daughter used to coach girls lacrosse, sort of 8 and 10 years olds. And she asked one of them one day, why aren't you wearing a watch? Because how do you, your mom's going to pick you up? And she held up her phone and said, duh, which is what kids tell you when they think stupidest person on the face of the earth. And she, for her, she had never made that equation between the phone as this other functioning thing. And so I think that parents will be surprised at what they think the kids think these phones are for. I always say, ask kids questions. They love to be smarter than you. Have them show you the games they like. Have them talk to you about what it was like doing in Google Classroom, what worked, what didn't, what was the funniest thing that happened, because clearly something funny has got to happen. How do they keep their relationships right now, and how is that worrying them? All of those things are just wonderful ways to start conversation that don't have to be or difficult. They can just be, sharing.
And to the mom who said that it freaks her out, I think that's completely valid. It should freak you out a little bit, because when you give a child a connected device, whether it's the phone or a tablet or whatever, do remember that they're connecting with the whole world potentially, and anything they post online stays online forever. It can be seen by anyone and shared by anyone. So there is a huge responsibility that comes with these phones. And personally, I think younger children just don't have the brain capacity to make the ethical choices, the wise choices that are going to keep them from making mistakes that will inevitably haunt them as they get older. So a great option for those younger kids, and I'm talking maybe 12 and under, is a flip phone, which might sound totally lame. But if your worry is you want your child to be able to get in touch with you no matter where you are, that's a good first step. Giving them a phone that just lets them call. And if they show responsibility with that phone, then level them up to something that's more age appropriate. But that's a place to start for the
Yeah,
future.
absolutely. But I don't think, don't use 12 or 10 or
Yeah.
as a number. Every kid is so different, and some kids are incredibly mature, and I know some grown-ups that probably shouldn't have a phone. So just be aware that they're going to have expectations about what is going to do too. And so you don't want to have the worst Christmas ever where your kid opens the box and they see Verizon and then they find out they don't have the ability to play Minecraft with their friends.
And I totally agree with that. But the reason I go to that age is for a couple things. So as you know, we have the curriculum cyber civics, and the first year is designed for 12 and 13-year-olds. And it's all about digital citizenship, which is the safe, responsible use of digital tools. And one of the things I loved is a couple years ago when I taught that at the school here locally, all the parents in that class came to the decision that they would hold off giving their kids smartphones until they graduated from that first year of cyber civics, and it would be like the gift that everyone got. And I was stoked for so many reasons, because the idea didn't come from me, it came from the parents. And it kept all the kids on the same page, and those parents felt confident that their kids had the education needed to do all the things I just read to you, to maintain their reputation, to know about online privacy, to be critical thinkers when they see things online. And ideally, I think those are the skills kids need before they get out there in this crazy world of being connected to everything and everyone all at once. So.
For sure.
Okay, so let's go to question number 2 here. Hold on. Oh, I'm sorry, number 3. This comes from Alexa, who has 2 boys, ages 10 and 16. How should parents monitor device usage to be sure it's appropriate?
Well, let's make a distinction between monitoring, like you're watching over and figuring out what the kids are doing, and monitoring like you've got a nanny, the phone. Those are 2 completely different things. And I'm getting a message that my internet is unstable. I try not to take that personally.
Good thing you're a media psychologist. Maybe you can.
I know, right? But Alexa has an even more difficult problem a lot of parents face, which is that she has one 16-year-old and one 10-year-old. And so there are going to be some challenges in allowing the 16-year-old what's appropriate versus the 10-year-old. But in fact, this is where we say every child is different, but monitoring is really important, but it isn't like peeking their shoulder. It's having conversations, establishing that trust, and that time is so worth the investment. You when they run into problems.
Yeah. So I agree with you. I think monitoring is a confusing word because monitoring makes it sound like you're looking over their shoulder versus using a parental control, which is an app that you would put on the phone to do that for you. And I think both are not entirely effective because I have never met a teen or even a preteen that could get around any kind of control you put on the phone. They'll hide or they'll do it somewhere else. So that's not an effective strategy. Again, I think the most effective strategy is education, teaching kids the whys and hows of why they would want to protect their
That's it.
reputation or not post stupid things and all that. Nothing beats that. And when you can do it with kids together and they help each other out and they understand it and they have each other's backs, is the most effective strategy, hands down. But that being said, I do think if you're going to give a younger child a phone, absolutely use the built-in parental controls that all of our devices come with. They're really, really good. And what I always tell parents, Pam, you probably do the same, is if you don't know how to use them, use YouTube. Go to YouTube and put in
Yeah, that's right.
iPhone parental controls, and you'll find 1,000 videos that will walk you through it. So
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Trying to keep a kid from doing something is like holding a balloon underwater. It's going to pop up someplace. So it's really pays to learn about these. Check out all the privacy before you give the phone to the kids so that you're capable of having a conversation about your worries and their desires so that they feel a little bit respected. But don't figure that if you block Facebook, that's going to solve your problem, because the next thing you know, they'll be on TikTok or Snap or whatever. You
yeah.
you can't block every app, but you can train kids so that they know how to think about things and they know what's smart to do.
Yeah, mutual trust. And that I was just looking at the chat box here and I see that our friend Darren Lauer, the White Hatter, is on, and he put up a great comment that says, haha, I actually find that adults are doing more inappropriate things with their phones than youth. So true.
That's right.
Find that as well.
Well, we're actually spending the time to talk with kids now, especially in schools, and they're very aware of it with each other. But parents, I think that's one of the big problems that we're going to talk about in the future is what sharenting, right? Where parents don't understand the boundaries that need to respect their kids. It
Yeah.
isn't just all on the kids.
Right. And we're going to get to this probably in a minute, but Pam and I had a little talk about this yesterday about tech agreements. We offer one on the Cyberwise site, and maybe Arius can put the link to it up for everyone to see. And kind of, and Pam made me realize that we even need to work on it. So we're going to make it better for next year, but it should be a mutual agreement. It shouldn't be just you do this because you're the kid and I'm the ever knowing adult. I mean, it should be mutual. Like, if you don't want your child posting inappropriate pictures of themselves, then you should not post inappropriate pictures or post any pictures
Right.
of them without their permission. Like, just things like that that show that mutual respect are so important.
Absolutely. And just like parents have worries, kids have worries too. Is mom going to stalk me on Facebook? Is, she going to be reading all my texts? So being able to both sides talk about their worries and establishing what's the right thing to do with a little kid. Yeah, you're going to look at their texts, right? You're going to be checking who they are if they're playing an online game. But they need to know at a time. They can't just feel like your big brother and that you're constraining them, because that'll just drive it underground.
Right, exactly. And the thing is, like, you can ramp that up. We call those digital on-ramps, so that you start real easy and slow when the kids are little. And as you trust them and they learn how to be more respectful with things they do online, you ramp up their opportunities and their responsibilities as they get older and older. But hopefully you've established that conversation along the way, like Pam mentioned, that your kids feel that they can come to you. I always tell these stories that get me into trouble because I think my dad's on today, but I'm going to tell this one anyway. So my daughter Piper is my youngest daughter, and so she and I always had a very open communication about things she posted on Instagram, etc. So I remember when she was in high school, she took a picture of herself, and she was on the roof of our house, and she was in a little bikini, and she took a picture, and she came to me first. She goes, "Mom, do you think this is appropriate to post on Instagram?" And my knee-jerk reaction was, "Hell no." But I had to hold that back and think, okay, this is so cool that she's asking, and think of her audience and it's her friends, and it's not really all of her, it's just the top of her, and she's in California and it's the middle of summer. So, I had to suspend my adult knee-jerk reaction, and we came to a mutual agreement. I think she did post it somewhat cropped. But the point is, how cool was that to have a teenager actually
For
ask
sure.
that question? You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
Anyway, that's really what you hope for.
Well, yeah, and you've invested in that trust, and that's what you want, because kids are going to run into problems. I mean, they do in all aspects of their lives, and you want them to come to you. But what I was going to say is, with this sort of on-ramping, figure it like a job review. Set up a time where you're going to review what's going on, evaluate how well it's going, and so that the child doesn't feel like they're just entirely at your, just whim about when they get to do the next thing.
Yeah, and be curious, like you said earlier, like don't come at it like it's, an inquisition. Like, hey, I've heard about TikTok, show it to me. Like, it sounds really like, what is the big deal about it? Why do they want to get rid
Exactly.
of it, So
Yeah, I'm never going to be a TikTok influencer. It's pretty clear.
All right. Okay, well, this kind of goes hand in hand with the original one. This comes from Robert, who has a boy and a girl. How do you set limits on screen time, acknowledging age differences?
Well, first of all, think about what they're doing, not how much they're doing it, because screen time isn't a very good measure. And we've got lots and lots of research and lots of scary headlines about screen time does this, screen time does that. And there's a zillion different definitions of screen time. And there's all kinds of evidence that if, for example, with young kids, if you're doing something with them, if they're being interactive, that it's a very positive thing. But at the same time, you want balance. I want to say one little caveat here is you got a bunch of teenagers stuck at home. And, based upon the Orange County warning, we're going to be stuck at home a little bit longer. So recognize that developmentally, teens need to connect socially, because that's how they're developing their identity. They're forming their idea of a place in the world. So don't be too judgmental about a heavy amount of connectivity right now, because that's how they're maintaining their social connection, their social life. I mean, it's essentially just a portal to a social world. It's just like those science fiction movies, boom, off you go.
Yeah, and I did see some research on that, Pam, that you probably saw too, that right now during COVID, kids are so stressed out, and social media and gaming offer them a little respite from the stresses of our world right now. So keep that in mind.
Absolutely.
And I also wanted to share a story that we talked about yesterday. I still teach cyber civics to 8th graders on Zoom. And we talked about a documentary, maybe some of you saw, The Social Dilemma, and about kids being addicted to their phones and all that. And I asked them what they thought about that. And they were bummed, because they're like, what do adults expect from us right now? Like, the only way we can do school is online, which we hate, but we have to do it. And then the only way we can have any connection or social time is online, which we much prefer to go meet our friends somewhere. It's like, how can you call that addiction when it's the world that we are faced with at the moment? So I think what you say about not how much, but what is so important. Take a look at what your kids are doing online before you jump to the conclusion that there's addiction, which isn't really a clinical thing.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And, and it's very interesting, because my daughter has gone from playing a game to capturing screenshots of the game to importing them into iMovie and writing scripts and making us watch them before dinner. We have a little showing every night before dinner, but somehow this whole thing has evolved into this very creative experience. And now she's moved off the device, and she every night writes, about her story that she started on that movie. So there's all kinds of stuff that's going on there. So be open-minded about, what they're doing and how they're doing it, because there's a lot of potential.
Yeah. And I think that's what sometimes adults miss about the TikToks and the Snapchats, is because it is a creative medium. So a lot of kids are using TikTok to create little videos, which is kind of cool. And then Snapchat too, they were the first one to tap into this idea that humans love to tell stories. And so they created the story that people share with other friends or people on Snapchat at the end of the day. So again, it's that creativity. You want to look at what they're doing and try to back off on the numbers. Not to say that the numbers aren't important for the littlest of children who need that face-to-face time as well.
Right.
So addiction, do you want to take a moment there and explain addiction, Pam?
Well, sure. There's a clinical definition of addiction, which is a very serious one, and it's really when whatever you're doing interferes with all aspects of your life. It's interfering with it's relationships, your job, your school, whatever thing, everything's just going down the tank, right? That's clear addiction. Heavy use, different thing, but journalists love to use the word addiction. And of course, we love to use the word addiction when we talk about things like chocolate. So just be aware that you don't have to be afraid because of heavy use. Heavy use means there's, somebody needs something to do. They're connecting, they haven't learned how to set limits, whatever, but solve it from a less pathological
Right.
perspective and a more behavioral perspective.
Yeah. And really, the only true technology addiction is gaming. That's the only one that's been recognized by the medical community. And even that is questionable, right, Pam?
Yes, I was going to say, yeah, the research isn't it's totally solving that.
Okay, well, here's a question from Nikki, mother of Sam and Ella, 9 and 12. I'm worried about screen time, but I'm more worried about the really scary stuff: predators, porn, sexting, and bullying. Should I be worried about this?
I mean, that's a great question. And that's probably the first thing that comes to parents' minds when they think about allowing them to connect to the World Wide Web is, access to predators and all that. And I was reminded, Diana, we had a conversation, I'm not going to say how many years ago, where we talked approaches to things like bullying. And we had stop, block, and talk were the 3 steps. But I know you've been thinking about this as kids have gotten more sophisticated and as the technology got more sophisticated.
Yeah, so we updated that. And this is how we teach the kids in cyber civics to respond to cyberbullying. We actually have 6 lessons on cyberbullying. And, what I discovered is like something like 87% of kids will see cyberbullying at some point in their life, but hardly anybody knew what to do about it, which to me is crazy because it's visible. Like you should know what to do the minute you see it. So what we teach kids is we changed the first one to take stock, block, and talk. And what that means is take a screenshot of the evidence, take stock, block it, immediately cut off communication, block the person, and then talk, tell a trusted adult, report it to the network where it happens, tell somebody can help you deal with it. So pretty easy strategy to remember. And then kids are empowered to do something about cyberbullying.
And those are powerful tools, even in the halls of the middle school, because there is as much bullying that goes on in person as online at that age. It's unfortunately how people shift power and show allegiance and do all that teenage stuff. So giving your kid conflict resolution skills, which is essentially what that is, taking stock, stepping back, figuring out what's going on, figuring out a solution to block it, and finding someone to talk to is really important. And I think that what's especially important is when there's that talk, we don't want people turning into victims. We want them to feel empowered by taking this action. So it's no poor you. It's like, well, what are the tools we need to solve this?
Yeah. And it's important for parents to know that every single social network out there has really good reporting tools. And that gives kids a sense of empowerment. If they see somebody being treated cruelly online or they see something inappropriate, report it. And the networks need help with that because they can only do so much on their own with so many people using it. So that's really important. I also want to address some of the other concerns. Sexting. Sexting is something to be very concerned about. If you don't know what it is, it's the transmitting via technology a sexually suggestive image. So that's very confusing to kids because they see images like that all over the place, but yet between minors, if they send it on a computer or a cell phone, it's a very serious. In some states, they could be listed as a child predator. And I mean, it's very serious. Every state has a different law, so look up the laws in your state. And the thing about sexting is you get in as much trouble for sending a sext as receiving one. So if someone unwittingly sends you this, kids can get in trouble because they're holding child pornography on their phone. So this is an important topic. Also, we teach in cyber civics, every child should know about this. What I teach the kids is if you're sent something like this, get it off your phone immediately, but make sure you tell somebody about it. Unlike cyberbullying, please don't take a snapshot of it and save it because it's just making the problem worse, honestly. And you can't send it to a teacher because then it gets them into a load of trouble. So it's something where you need to tell somebody about it. And if you're asked to send a sexual image, you should know that to say no, because that could get both you and the person you send it to into a heck of a lot of trouble. So that's an important thing to talk to kids about. And then the other thing that wasn't mentioned, but it's a huge concern this year, is hate speech. Hate speech has been on the rise for a number of reasons. I think we can all guess, but there's a lot of that happening online, which super inappropriate. It's hurtful on the other end, just as hurtful
Right.
as cyberbullying. So yeah, you should be
Yeah.
concerned. There's a lot of downsides. That's why kids
There's
need education.
the kids need education, but they don't need to be afraid either, because if you become, if you attack it like it's all bad, they won't listen to anything. So what you're really trying to do is lay out the consequences of some of these things. We've all heard about the kid who didn't get into his college of choice because somebody found hate speech in his Twitter feed, or somebody who thought, oh, I'm sending this sexy picture of myself just to my boyfriend, and he screenshotted it and shared it all over the place. So there's really no good outcome of either of those things. So it's a question of impulse control,
Right.
which is hard on teenagers.
Yeah, super true. And kids are, they're programmed to make
Right.
mistakes. You just hope that they don't make them online, right? So it's good to talk about this stuff before you hand them a connected device. Okay, so question 7. This comes from Debbie and Mike, parents of Miles, Shauna, and Chris, ages between 10 and 14. I've heard about cell phone contracts. Should we use one?
Well, I think we're going to run out of time here today, and I think that's something that we agreed. Let's talk about that as a New Year's resolution. How do you make an effective cell phone contract? The one thing I would say is think about it as two parties negotiating with respect. Obviously, you're the parent. You get to make ultimately the rules, but if you want those rules followed in something that's as easy to subvert as technology, you really need to get their buy-in. And so we're going to go over those tips. But as Diana said, CyberWise has a downloadable contract right now that we.
Yeah, and I see Arius put the link to it in the chat box. Arius, maybe you could add one more link of something I referred to earlier, and it's the questions you should ask yourself. Is my child ready for a cell phone? And you can find that on the CyberWise site under our learning hubs, the one called Age of Use. It's one of the very first learning hubs. So it's a downloadable little card that you can carry around and see if your child has all this stuff that they should know. So that's a resource. And real quick, just 2 more things that might be helpful to parents. Well, actually, when we post this, we're going to post it on the homepage of the CyberWise website. We will give you some links to additional resources that will help you answer this question. Sorry, Pam, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, when you're going down the list, you can just ask do you know what to do if? Do you know what to do if? So that you have a sense of what they know and they don't know, and you've started to the conversation. So you don't have to figure that all out without talking to them.
Right, right. And talk is the most important thing.
Talk.
Yeah. So I hope we didn't really answer your question with a one-word answer. We gave you lots to chew on today. But the nice thing is there's lots of places to go to educate yourself and to educate your kids. I have to give one more pitch to cyber civics, because the only way to teach kids how to protect themselves in the online world is to teach them to use this. And the only way to do that is through education. So that's super important. And educate yourselves too. We have a lot of free resources on the CyberWise site that we will include on the homepage to help you find. And Pam, what are we talking about next time? I can't remember.
Oh, New Year's resolution, contracts, and how to, resolve to have a healthy relationship with technology. Because I'll tell you, the headlines are full of gloom and doom right now about technology.
Yeah.
So,
but thank God for technology. It's gotten us through a really tough year, because it's allowed us to do things like this. It's allowed kids to get education and to have that much important social connection that we all need. So.
Absolutely.
All right, Pam. Well, thank you so much again. Thank
Great
you,
to
everyone
see you
here. And we'll see you next time. Our next chat, I believe, is going to be the first of the year. So check the CyberWise website for the exact date. All right. Thanks, Pam. Have a great day. Bye, guys.